Welcome back to the channel, and we have a brand new video concept for you today. Today we're looking at every Premier League team's season and grading them on how well they've done. So obviously the grading is very simple. We have S, which is just the top of the top, the best season they could have asked for. Then A, B, C, all the way down to F. It's quite simple, so let's just jump straight into this. So the first team that we have to rank is Arsenal. Now this is an interesting one because with 32 games into the season, they've just dropped out of first place because of losing to Villa. But I mean, the fact that they're in a title race is impressive. Rice has been a breakout for them. Obviously, he was really good at West Ham. Spent a lot of money on him, and he has performed as well as they would have hoped. But I feel like they are just missing that top attacker that the other teams have. They have Haaland, they have Salah in Man City and Liverpool. I feel like they're just missing that player. And for that reason, I'm going to put them not in B, in A. It could be a C. It could be an S though if they go on to win the league. But as it currently stands, it's an A, but very easily could move to the S. They're much closer to the S than the B. Now, the next team is our first S of the video. Aston Villa is the most probably unexpected turn of events. They're looking very good to get a Champions League spot, which is absolutely crazy considering under Gerrard, they were in the relegation zone. Emery's come in, done an absolute madness with the team, and they're 3 points clear of Tottenham. And Tottenham do have a game in hand, but Tottenham's form has dropped off a little bit. So if Villa do get the Champions League spot, there's no reason why they shouldn't be in the S tier. And now, moving over to Burnley, they've struggled a bit more. They're in 19th place, 6 points off safety, no games in hand or anything like that. They have struggled. Their team just isn't up to the Prem standard, and for that reason, I think it's quite an easy F. I don't think I can give someone anything above an F or an E if it looks like they are going to go down, unless they really put up a good fight. I don't think Burnley have quite done that this season. Now this is an interesting one. Bournemouth. I feel like Bournemouth have really overachieved here. They've got a lot of secret players you don't realise are really good. They go under the radar a lot, like Kluivert. He played well the other week. They've got a lot of players that are a young squad as well. They are exciting to watch, and for that reason we're going to put them into, I think it's either C or B, because they're sat in 13th for the minute. So they are looking at a mid-table finish. There's no worries about them with relegation or anything. So for that reason, I think they've overperformed a lot of people's expectations. I mean, they're close to Fulham and Wolves and Brighton, who have all had really good seasons in themselves. So I think we're going to put them in B. I think that's fair enough. And now we move on to Brentford. They're probably underperforming, if anything. A lot of people had high expectations. Obviously, they've had the Tony suspension a lot of the way through the season. But even when they've come back, they've not looked the same team. They've not looked that good at all. And they are potentially in a relegation scrap. They should be alright. 6 points. No, it's 7 points. 7 points, 5 games left. They should be all good. But you never quite know. And the fact that they're in a battle, I think sums it all up. And for that reason, we're going to put Brentford of having an E season. Obviously, they have struggled with the squad and some injuries and stuff. But I've got to judge them on where they are in the league. And I don't think they're doing as well as they would have hoped at the start of the season. And now moving over to Brighton. And for this one, it's a difficult one. They're sat in 10th. And at points they've looked really good. But at points they've also looked really bad. So it's quite hard to get the middle ground. And I think for that reason it's got to be C or B, just like Bournemouth. They have been really good. I mean, the 3 points off Chelsea, they're quite close to the teams above them. They have done well. We'll be nice. We'll give them a B. Right, the fact that they're going to probably finish top half the table, you've got to give them some credit for that. They're doing well. Now this is an interesting one. We have Chelsea. Obviously, if this was done about a month or two ago, it'd probably be a straight away F. But they have picked up some form. No losses in the last 5, 3 wins. They're not looking as bad. They've got games in hands on teams, and they could jump up to 7th, maybe even 6th, with a few wins and results going their way and stuff like that. So they very quickly could be back into the European picture. So instead of an F, I can't give them anything above a D because they have been sat mid-table. I think we're going to have to give them an E. Even if they come and get a European spot late on, the fact that they've been sat about 11th or 12th the whole season is massively underperforming with how much money they've spent. So I've got to give them an E. But if they finish the season in a European spot, that's probably up to like a D or a C. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one with Chelsea. And now Man City is a very weird one. Remember, we're just judging this off the Premier League. So no Champions League, European competitions or anything like that. So just in the Premier League, it looks like Man City are favourites to go and win again. But I don't think they've been at their best. They've looked 3 losses, 7 draws. I don't think that's quite City standard. I expect a bit more from them. I feel like they been a bit underwhelming sometimes, but it does look like they are going to go win the league again. But because I think they've had a drop off from last year, I'm going to have to put them in the A alongside Arsenal. And now this is a tough one. We have Everton, obviously massively hit by point deductions. I think as it stands, they're on -8 from the point deductions after having some taken and some given back. So without the point deductions, they would probably be safe. They'd be sat in 14th. I mean, they've struggled, but they've got games in hands. So it looks like they should be all good to stay up. And for that reason, I'm going to give them a D. I don't think they're quite as bad as Chelsea and Brentford, as they did struggle the last few seasons. And it looks like they are going to be safe. And without the point deductions, they'd definitely be safe. So I think a D is fair enough. They've struggled a bit, but it looks like they're going to stay up. Now, this is a team that may not stay up. Nottingham Forest. This is an interesting one. They've had a really, really poor season, and they're struggling. And they've got Luton chasing them, so they could go down. This is another one that's going to massively change the grade, depending on whether they manage to stay up or not. But as it stands, I think sat in 17th, 1 point clear, I can only put them in an E. They've really underperformed. They've obviously got loads of players over the last couple seasons, and they've just not hit the ground running. They've looked good at points, but with only 7 wins in the league, I don't think I can put them above an E. That's quite a poor season by their standard. And now on the bit of the other side of things, Fulham. They've been a very interesting team this season. Sat in mid-table, 12th, all safe and stuff, no risk of relegation. If anything, they can climb the table a bit more, maybe get up to about 10th or 9th even if they're lucky. A solid season for them. I think it's just the definition of a C. We're coming to expect this a little bit from Fulham now. They've got some very, very good players in their team. They're playing very good football. So I feel around the C mark is about fair for them. They've probably performed as they would have wanted to. But they have overperformed because a lot of people would have had them to struggle a bit. So I think a C is fair enough. Now, Liverpool is a very interesting one. So obviously they're still in the title race with Arsenal and City. 2 points off. But they may have to go into S simply because I don't think anyone expected them to be in a title race, and they are. I think a lot of people had them as maybe top 4 candidates. But I don't think anyone would have thought with 6 games left they'd be right in the running for a Premier League title. I mean, they've had Endo be playing all season. They've had a lot of new signings, a bit of uncertainty. And I might have to give them an S. Because I feel like Arsenal and City, because of last season, they're expected to be up there. Whereas Liverpool there last season, they're expected to be battling for some form of European. And then now they're battling for a league title. I think it's got to be an S rating for them. Now we move over to Luton. Now Luton's an interesting one because if they go and stay up, it's a very, very successful season for them. But if they go down, then obviously you can't give them that high of a grade if they're getting relegated. And as it stands, if it ended right now, they are relegated. But they've put on some entertaining games. They've put a good fight on. See, I want to give them a D, but I feel like it's got to be an E if it looks like they could go down. But I might back a D. I feel like they've surprised a lot of people. A lot of people had them rock bottom of the Premier League. And now they're an 18th and have got a very, very good chance of surviving still. And if they do survive, it's definitely a D. If they go down, it probably is an E or an F. But the differences between them and Burnley and Forest, I feel like Luton, I would back them to stay up from this position. We'll have to wait and see, but I feel like a D is a bit generous. But it's not I think it's roughly fair. And now we have Newcastle, who are currently sat in 6th. No one can really overtake them with any games in hand. And they have games in hand on a few people here and there. It's been a bit of a weird season. They've gone through spells of looking really good, picking up some good points. They're currently in one at the minute. Done well in the last 3 out of the last 5 games they've won. Only lost 1. They're looking good. I mean, they're not going to get into 5th or 4th. But I think it's got to be a C. Because of how bad they have been at points this season. And how good they were last season getting the top 4 spot. They have underperformed slightly. But they're still looking at a potential top 7, top 6 finish. And for that reason, they've got to be at least a C. But because how poor they've been at points throughout the season, I don't think they can go above that. And the next team's an interesting one. Is Crystal Palace. I mean, they should be safe from relegation. Similar to Brentford. They're 7 points clear, I think, at the minute. No, 8 points clear at the minute of relegation. So there's absolutely no way they should be getting dragged in. And they have a game in hand on a lot of teams. They should be all good. I don't think they've massively stepped up in like any quality or anything. They're looking all right at the minute. But I think it's got to just be a D. Because for too long they have been like quite near the bottom. It does look like they're going to be fine, but I think they'd rather be in Fulham and Wolves position than down there, kind of scraping. It is all close, but they are, 9 points off Bournemouth in 13th. So they are in the bottom group of teams. So I think a D is fair enough for them. And now Sheffield United, I'm sorry, there's nothing left else to say other than shove them straight in that F. They have been absolutely awful this season. There's nothing more to say. They've been as bad as a lot of people predicted them to be. So I think an F is only fair. And now we have Tottenham, who look like they're battling for a top 4 spot. It's going to be close between them and Villa. And obviously that top 4 spot is Champions League, even though the 5th could be Champions League this year as well. But I think that whether they get 4th or 5th will massively change this. At the minute, I'm looking at probably a B or an A, because they have massively impressed. They can't be S or anything like that, because to be S, you have to massively overperform. But a lot of people would have had them to come top 6 anyway. So I'm trying to think. I think they've done better than Bournemouth and Brighton. They've got to be shoved in there with the A's with City and Arsenal, because they look like they've actually got a bit of trajectory at the minute, where for the last few years, it looks like they're kind of just a bit lost, not really sure what to do. But finally, they have a bit of a route. Big Ange at the wheel. He looks like he knows what he's doing. When they get all their players fit and stuff, I feel like they're a guaranteed top 4 finish. And for that reason, I think it's got to be an A. Now it's a big one. Manchester United. So I think there's 2 you can put them in here, and that's C or D. So it's weird because it depends where they finish as well. But at points in the season, they look very good. Obviously, had loads of injuries, loads of defenders especially injured. Obviously, had a few breakouts like Mainu and stuff. They've been hit or miss, very inconsistent. When they look good, they look very good. When they look bad, they look very bad. I'm trying to look at the teams that are in there. Have they had a similar season to Newcastle? I'd say not, because people expected more from United this season. So I think they've got to go in D, because people expected them to be sitting around like the top 4, and they're sat in 7th for the minute. That's so underperforming. And now is a good team. It's West Ham, who have been really good this season. I mean, they've gone through a few spells where they've looked a bit poor, but generally they have looked really good. Kudos, an amazing signing. Bowen striking again. Paqueta looks amazing. Obviously, the one downfall is the Phillips signing hasn't quite worked out as they would have hoped. But all in all, they've looked very good. And I'm trying to work out where to put them now. I think it's got to be B or A. I'm trying to look. Are they looking like they're going to get Europe? It's unlikely, unless it goes all the way down to 8th. Where then they do have a chance. It's a tough one. They've reinvested their money well from Rice with Kudos and stuff. They are looking good. Who have we got in the A? City. I think B. I think B is fair enough. And finally, the last team is Wolves, who are currently sat in 11th. But when they have a full strength squad, they look absolutely amazing at points. Cunha has really stepped up and started delivering. He looks very good. Lamina has been an absolute standout for them. He's been very, very good. So I feel like a B could be fair, because I think a lot of people thought Wolves would struggle this season. A lot of people thought Wolves would struggle, and they've actually performed very well. They're sat in mid-table, going to be looking at a mid-table finish, but very clear of the teams down at the bottom. There's a big jump from 14th to 13th, and they're sat in 11th. Could climb the league a bit, could drop off a bit, but either way, I think they've overperformed from what people expected. So this is the final grading system of every Premier League team. Make sure to let me know down below whether you agree with it, what you would change, is there anything that's massively wrong, and also let me know if you do like this new concept of video. I'm hoping to do a couple a week of different tier lists that you guys suggest. But if you are new to the channel, why don't you watch this series right here about Garnacho? It's a Garnacho player career mode. Episode 1 is right here. If you want to click that, get started on that series. You have some catching up to do. But if you have enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.